I'm going live. Good evening, Internet and YouTube land. My name is Kip, and you're watching Car Chat with Kip on America Bumper to Bumper. And we are on this show. We talk car news. We talk any recalls that have come up, and stories, anything that we want to talk about. Something that we're going to do this week that will be a reoccurring segment. I don't know if it'll be every week, but we're gonna take interesting cars, not every car because I've owned a crap ton of cars, but some interesting cars that I've owned over the years, and we're going to, just talk a little, stories about what it was like owning it and all that good stuff. So, starting off, we're gonna do a little bit of a channel update. Right now we are on YouTube. We have 446 subscribers, and the very short and very I don't want to say bad, but not well. Computer issues. Anyway, started it. But anyways, the buy it or boot it from Wednesday with the computer issues. It's actually got some good views. I got a total of like 17, which is kind of humorous. We are going to redo buy it or boot it this coming Wednesday with the same cities that we're going to do last time, which were, let's see, Jonesboro, Arkansas, Casper, Wyoming, and Honolulu, Hawaii. So check us out 8 p.m. Eastern time Wednesday for buy it or boot it. Good evening, Jason. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate you being here. And I also mentioned in that video that there's going to be some changes and some things that we really wanted to do with the channel, but just life has a way of throwing curveballs at you. So I'm just going to explain a little bit. I can't go full detail on what's going to be happening in the future because we're still trying to figure it out. But Wednesday, our landlords, who happen to be my, I guess technically stepson, but it's my wife's son and daughter-in-law from her first marriage. We've been renting their second house for almost 3 years now, and unfortunately they told us that they can't keep up owning the two houses and that they have to sell, which means we are out of housing June 30th. So we've got some time. That was exceptionally nice of them to give us pretty much 4 months to be able to figure things out, but that means that any money that we're going to set aside to buy the new project vehicle, which my hope was going to be an S10 pickup or an S10 Blazer, preferably two-wheel drive, but anyways, all that is thrown out the window. So we have to save every last dime for moving expenses. I've been using Adobe Premiere Pro for video editing for anything that's not live stream. We are also getting rid of that, so I've got to find free software to do editing on for any other videos. So please put in the comments any of the free good ones that are out there. So we're trying to conserve and save as much money as we can for moving, which is unfortunate. We're going to get a new computer. We're going to, of course, do the project vehicle. We're going to do lots of stuff. But so as that is right now, isn't going to happen. But I know that there's a plan, and I know that everything's going to work out in the end. It just it's going to push the channel back a bit further than where I was hoping we'd be by the end of the year. But no big deal. We'll keep trucking. So I'll have more updates on the move and what's it going to mean to the channel in as soon as we know what's going on. So let's go ahead and get into our first story of the evening. Geneva Motor Show is canceled because of the coronavirus. And at this point, New York Auto Show in Detroit, New York Auto Show's in April, Detroit's in June. They're saying that they're still on, but there is wide speculation that if the coronavirus continues to continues to spread as it has, New York and Detroit will cancel as well, which is unfortunate. Beijing, they have postponed, but I can't see a Chinese auto show happening anytime soon. But let's see if didn't go through all this. There's another story that I didn't pull up that had all the debuts that were going to happen at Geneva that will have to be debuted some other way, but I'm not sure if it says in this particular story. It's not looking that way. But you got to understand, it's understandable with the outbreak and how it's affecting the world right now that this is definitely one thing that can be postponed or canceled or whatnot. I mean, we talked about last week about how motor shows are starting to become a little thing of the past. I mean, Frankfurt's no longer going to be going on. So anyways, if you guys were looking forward to the Geneva Motor Show, not going to happen this year, and we'll have to keep an eye out on whether New York and Detroit still happen. Now, sticking with overseas, the roster for this year's running of Le Mans is out, and the LMP1s, which you can see right here, what one looks like. This is the last year that the LMP1s are going to be racing at all, and this year there's only 6 of them, so it's definitely a series that looks like it's not going to be too missed. The 6 cars that are going right now is 2 Toyotas, 2 Rebellions, and 2 Genettas. And that is the entire LMP1 field, and that's less than 10% of the entire race field of 62 cars. So that's kind of sad that these interesting cars are going to go away, but apparently it's costing too much to keep these race teams going. Now here's something that is, I don't know if you guys remember the vacuum cleaner minivans that GM had, the Pontiac Transport, Chevy Lumina, and Olds Silhouette. Of course, all those were sold in the U.S. and were pretty mundane. Best thing that they came with, especially the kind of the earlier ones, was the nearly bulletproof 3.8 liter V6 engine. Sorry, brain cramp there. But we didn't get the best minivan, GM Dustbuster minivan that was out there. And minivans back in the 80s and early 90s, they're pretty cool. Hey Brian, thanks for being here. Don't worry about being late. You're here, and that's the only thing that really matters. Chrysler had a turbo minivan with a manual transmission. Ford had a rear-wheel drive. I wouldn't really call the Aerostar a minivan, but rear-wheel drive, manual transmission minivan. And then GM we got the Dustbusters. The Holy Grail, a variety that they're talking about here, and this is a Jalopnik is where I pulled this story from, was the U-body. I'm sorry. Okay, I had it somewhere here. What the man. Right, transport, mixed bag. Well, you know, these transports actually were very cool. They had electric sliding doors before anybody else did. They were very common. We had a 93, 94, something like that. The more of a rounded front end than these. You know, great. The coolest, best ones were European version, the Chevy Astro, and they had a manual transmission. They offered the manual transmission in Europe, and we didn't get it. That's that. It would have been awesome to have a manual shift minivan here. The other great thing about it had the 2.3 quad 4. Those were very, very peppy engine for the time. Definitely not a you know, the 3.8, but definitely a decent engine for the time. And you know, we could have had the manual shift one here. If they had it like that, looking like that, man, that would have been. That kind of reminds me of the Toyota Previa, the Jelly Bean. But the silhouettes, those were quite fairly luxurious for the time. Pontiac was pretty sporty, and the Chevys were just kind of eh. But anyway, I would love to get my hands on a manual shift Dustbuster. Speaking of General Motors, the good thing first, we'll do good first. An automaker that's adding jobs. This is GM's going to add 1,200 jobs in Lansing, Michigan to meet SUV demand. The vehicles that are going to be getting the boost in production are the Chevy Traverse and Buick Enclaves. 800 new employees will be added to make those, and then 400 will be added on for the launch of the new CT4 and CT5 sedans. Even I made my first video. Was a 68 I built for Dad back in 04. Nice. Hey, that's cool. Can't wait to go over and check that out, Brian. Yeah, looks like the luxury companies are pretty much the only ones that are still willing to make sedans. I mean, Lincoln, they didn't do very well, but I think I read some last week that the dealer network wants more cars, so it's pretty cool. And then on to the bad. And speaking of minivans, going back to the minivans, Grand Caravan is ending production in May, which means 1,500 employees of Fiat Chrysler are going to be jobless. So hopefully the plant is somewhat close and they can go over and work in Lansing. But and the sad thing is with this one, the Grand Caravan was the best-selling minivan of 2019. Sold over 122,000 of the Grand Caravans, and this particular design has been around for a long time. But they outsold the Pacifica, which is pretty much what's going to replace it. You know, keep its spot in the Chrysler lineup. And it sold almost 30,000 more units. And the next closest was the Honda Odyssey, and they sold 99,000. So it seems kind of odd that Chrysler would axe a vehicle that's still selling pretty good, unless of course all those are going out to fleet companies. Yeah, I love the Caravans. Over the years we've had what, 5 or 6, honey? Yeah. Yeah, and they've always gotten us where we need to be. Actually, when we were looking at new cars, that's what Kathy wanted. Is she wanted a minivan, but we got a better deal with the Equinox, which we still need to make a video, and which I'll try to get out sometime soon. But more pressing things on the mind. Yeah. So with the end of production, 1,500 people are losing their jobs. Like I say, hopefully I can go over and get a job with GM. All right. A Chrysler exec made the mistake, the little slip up of confirming that we will see the new Grand Cherokee this year. The head of design, Ralph Giles, and head of performance passenger and utility exterior design, Mark Trostel. They're talking on a podcast, and Giles made the, I don't know if it was a mistake or he did it on purpose, but he mentioned that the current Grand Cherokee has soldiered on for a long time, and that it would be replaced. The new car would see its replacement this year, before the end of the year. So this picture here, of course, is the camouflaged version that we should be seeing soon. And of course, it won't be too much longer. I think they're saying next year is when we're going to see the Grand Wagoneer, which will be bigger and be a body on frame, full-size SUV. And that is one I am absolutely looking forward to see. Oop. Looks pretty good proportions. A lot of padding on there, so I don't know the exact size of it, but it looks like it's going to be a good rig. And I am definitely looking forward to seeing the new Grand Cherokee when it debuts later this year. All right, on to Kia. Kia has confirmed that this year we will see a new logo for the company. Right now it's just Kia and kind of a nondescript font. And we are going to go from what it is now to that, which to me just looks like a bunch of scribbly lines. I mean, you can kind of tell what it is a little bit more on the front of this concept here. But if they stick it all together like this, that just looks like a bunch of, I don't know, V's. Pretty weird. Anyways, what do you guys think? I think Kia should have stayed with the old one. You know what it is. But, you know, gotta move forward with the times, right, people? All right. As I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, we're going to start doing something a little bit different. We're going to talk about, hey, Lowlit, thanks for coming in here. Appreciate it, buddy. We're going to talk about cars that I've previously owned.
Address is down to you.
My very first vehicle that I ever owned.
It's in the other room next to the hostage.
Before I had my license. I think I had it. I think I bought it when I was 14, which in Vermont, you can get your permit at 15 and start driving at 16. But my brother had a Cavalier station wagon, 80, I don't know, wanted something like an 84, and he bought another one because he needed a few parts on it, off of it. This one I think was an 83, and decided, why don't we make a truck out of it, kind of like this. And right here, this is kind of like what he did on it. Was the hatch just moved forward, and then piece of metal put in here. I gotta say, this was a lot. This one here is not it. This is a video that I found on YouTube, but this is a lot further along than where we ever had. The Capamino is what I used to call it. Didn't have any diamond plate here. Didn't have a tailgate. The interior was not well put together. Bondo over the door, door seams. Not a good car. We also, reason I got it so cheaply, and I think I only paid like $100 or so, for it, was the clutch was frozen on it. Could not get it to move. We thought it was like a tensioner or something that was bad, so I bought one and like didn't do anything. The arm that actually moved the clutch, the excuse me, guys. I don't know can't remember what you call that. Throwout bearing? Yeah. That thing was like frozen solid. And of course, being 14, not knowing anything really about cars. But anyways, had a lot of fun. My mother and stepfather had a bunch of land, and I just basically would start the car in gear, as it's chugging along. It'd start up, and then I'd, go out, drive it through the field for a few minutes in first gear, and bring it back and shut it off into place. And so that was my very first car. Second car that I ever owned it's pretty much this car. 79 Buick Regal. That was my, they weren't married at the time, but later it was my sister-in-law. It was white with the blue vinyl top on it. This I bought when I was 15, so still not legally a driver. And I bought this car with.
Wait, Dad, are you talking about your criminal activity?
Yes.
For shame.
No, I'm not a criminal.
No.
No. I didn't say anything about driving when I didn't have my license. I said it was a car I owned before I had a license. Never said I drove it. Anyways, they stopped driving. They got, a car with better gas mileage and, better suited for them. And so I bought it. I think, again, it was like $300. And found out that I was not going to get that car on the road either, because floorboards were rotted out, or some frame rot. Just an overall not a great car. Owned that I still owned it for about a year. Ended up trading this car for a set of rims for the actual first car that I ever drove on the road, and we'll talk about that on next week's show. That, my friends, I know it's we seem to get shorter and shorter, but this week is this is just what it's going to be for for tonight. Actually, weren't a whole lot of news things that I could find that were interesting. It was all pretty much the same stuff. So I want to thank you all for being here, and yeah. So we're gonna end this video like we do all of our videos. Dreams without ambition is like a car without gas. Not gonna get very far. Have a good night, and we'll see you all on Wednesday for Buy It or Boot It.